Hello and welcome back. This is your host, Will Mehall, joined by my counterparts, James Thomas Fanning IV, Tyler Combs, David Grayson, and producer behind the tech, making all this possible, and joined by the infamous Dr. Brent Johnson.
It's just a dentist.
It's just a dentist, so if you do need a doctor, you should definitely call one.
Yeah.
But we've referenced Brent on the show multiple times.
Every week.
And he's just recently moved back to the Atlanta area, so we've got him live here in our new studio, which is also an exciting...
Yeah. Thanks to all our generous donations from all our listeners, we were able to purchase a new studio.
All these new great things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're actually in the hole after we boosted our post last week, so we're going to go ahead and need everybody to...
Yeah, don't make the same mistake I did. Know that your Facebook is connected to your PayPal.
Which I had no
idea. They
idea.
will take $25 whether you authorize it or not.
Oh, they'll take it.
We got 935 clicks last week.
Yeah, so we appreciate
pretty exciting.
Everyone who did that. And if you could just re-up your donations and contributions, we would kind of do that.
Just recently got our 1,000th subscriber and 100,000th download.
We're about to double your
Sounds
views
about right.
Now that DJ BJ is in the house.
This guy is here.
Sounds about right. Don't check us on that, but
yeah, I don't,
those numbers sound about right.
I don't think the listeners can check us. That's why I said it.
That sounds about right. But yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. We're going to touch on, of course, Georgia football coming up fast with recruiting. And we're also going to take a look at what's been going on and the practices leading up to the season. And then we'll continue to look at the rest of the football landscape here as it shakes out prior to the season kicking off. We want to give a shout-out, though, to our new headline sponsor, Ed Freeman State Farm. We mentioned last week that we severed ties with In We Go, or at least the majority of our crew have. I'm still holding on strong and have hope that I'm actually going to a game this Wednesday.
Braves game?
Yeah, a Braves game
nice.
this Wednesday. So I'm holding on that we're going to have halfway decent seats. If not, then I will also sever ties, and In We Go, it's on you. But Ed Freeman State Farm, again, we've talked about Ed on the show more times than I can count. Great guy. We rely on him for all of our insurance needs. So if you've got a house, a boat, a car, or a life, be sure to check out Ed Freeman State Farm for all your insurance needs. Awesome. So
let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's jump right into it, guys. I mean, I know that Jimmy and Tyler, this is really more so your world. You guys really live and breathe the recruiting and guys coming into the program more so than I know for myself, certainly, and maybe Brent as well. So I want to get your guys' take on some of the hot recruits that are going to be coming in, particularly kind of in that linebacker position that I want you guys to address. Give us some of your feedback and thoughts on this, what we can expect to see from them hopefully coming in.
Well, we can talk about running back first because Will obviously did not read the prompt that we texted him before the show. So the first thing we're going to talk about is
Kendall Milton, right?
Yeah, Kendall Milton, 5-star running back out of California that just recently committed to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He was between us, I believe Ohio State, LSU was in there a little bit.
Yeah, I would imagine some West Coast teams. I'm not even sure who all was involved with him, but he.
I think by the end it was pretty well known that he was gonna roll with us. So that's a big pickup. He was actually rated ahead of Nick Chubb and Sony Michel.
Yeah,
relative to what they were in high school.
I think of the all-time running back recruits that Georgia has, he's only behind
Georgia legend Isaiah Crowell.
Isaiah Crowell. So Crow is sadly the highest-rated Georgia running back according to 247.
SEC Freshman of the Year.
Never panned
2010.
out. But
never forget.
We have a couple of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's exciting. But yeah, so far, kind of as Will alluded to and Jimmy was saying, UGA recruiting is kind of trending very, very hot right now with 5-star running back, yet another. We're kind of maintaining our status as running back U as far as having that pipeline. And you're starting to see Kirby recruit from all over the country, a kid from California coming all the way across state to come. And then hopefully looking at our sites, we're going to take 2 running backs this year in this class because we're going to lose. Brian Harrigan's going to exhaust all his eligibility because he is a damn good dog, 4-year contributor, maybe even 5-year.
No,
it feels like he's been there forever.
He didn't redshirt.
Okay.
And then Swift is 99% gone.
I think we all agree he'll probably head to
which is cool.
the
Good
pros.
for him. Go get that money.
We're going to take 2, and lo and behold, we are looking at the number 1 running back recruit in the country,
Zach
Evans, who is out of Texas. And since Kendall Milton's announcement as he's a number 6 overall running back or overall athlete, I can't recall.
He's up there. He's
up there.
5-star status.
Highly recruited 5-star. So then typically I like to hear, other players will run from the other 5-star commits within their same position group. But we seem to do a great job of pitching. And looks like we might end up anyway. Things are trending that way as far as Zachary Evans. They're starting to say him and UGA are starting to.
Evans has been all over the place.
Flirt with a commitment.
Earlier, he had said he wanted to be the feature back wherever he went, which is the reason we lost that running back to LSU last year. I don't even remember
not
his
Trey
name.
Sanders. John
yeah,
Emery.
Yeah, because he wanted to be the only running back taken, and Georgia told him we were going to try to take 2.
Yep.
We ended up only taking 1, but I think we're saving spots for this year, so we're definitely taking 2 this year. Selling them on being like the Thunder Lightning 1-2 punch that Chubb and Michelle were. The highest rushing total of any tandem in NCAA history. So I think that'll be a fun thing for guys to come in and try and compete and try and beat in the future.
Yeah, no, it will be. I mean, it's just exciting to see us going after literally guys from Texas, guys from California, just from everywhere. Kirby is going to go get you, and I guess I love seeing us get to that point. It's no longer we're going to get the 10 best guys in state. We're going to get the 10 best guys. We're going to get the top player in every state if we can, across the country,
Because you think if everything falls the way we're wanting it to this year, we're going to have a running back out of California, ideally a 5-star linebacker out of Utah, Sewell, tight end out of Las Vegas. We've got an outside linebacker committed out of Washington, D.C., Virginia area, whatever you want to call that. We're always taking kids out of Florida. Kirby has just made himself very at home in Dan Mullen's backyard, which is pretty great.
Yeah, so it's just exciting. But something just to put on you guys' radar, I guess, if you keep up the recruiting or not. But just I know it's always fun to know the 5-star guys. And since Kirby's been in town, and now I think we're getting kind of spoiled. It's like, another 5-star. We're getting 4 or 5 a class. But I don't know if you could just look at our running back situation right now. With Swift leaving and with Harry and exhausting eligibility, it's pretty crucial for us to, kind of rebuild that stable. We've been so used to having the Gurley, Keith Marshall, the Chubb.
We kind of skipped a year. We seem to have had we'll get 2 studs and then get some guys
Kenny,
that are like 4 stars,
like
but are
some
kind
loser named Zamir White.
Yeah, but I mean,
we've still got Zamir that'll hopefully come back to what he used to be.
We'll get into that, I'm sure. We'll get into that. But just as far as what we've come accustomed to in that backfield of having, the Gurley, Keith Marshall, the Sony Chubb, and then the last year was Swift, Holyfield. I mean, we've just grown so accustomed to having these guys. You kind of want us to keep seeing that, right? With the offensive line we have, it's an easy sell. Look at all the guys in the NFL. I think last year was 3 back-to-back-to-back years of 1,000-yard rushers. So, I mean, we look super attractive just to what we have on the team, what we've been able to, the churn, I guess, or the production we've had churn out of UGA as far as running back which we got snubbed for. I don't know if you saw that on ESPN. They were listing all these.
They did say that. It's because they went back too far, I think. I think they did like the entire BCS era. And so prior to Noshawn, I think they went back to 98, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so prior to Noshawn, he redshirted in 05 and then played in 06, 07 and went pro. Or maybe played in 07, 08 and went pro. But prior to him, it was not the star power that we have now. Yeah. But right now, it's pretty exciting time, probably pretty easy pitch for Kirby to make because this past year we had obviously both starters in the Super Bowl, starting running backs for the Georgia Bulldogs.
And center.
And, there you go. Boom. And then also you've got Nick Chubb on the Browns, which are kind of like everybody's second favorite team.
They're like America's team now.
Darling of the NFL.
So, but that's just exciting
the
stuff.
The Titans are going to bring them back down to earth.
Unfortunately, the Browns got Kareem Hunt. So
that'll be.
Yeah, but they traded
Duke Johnson.
Mm-hmm. So I think that Chubb's going to be the feature guy, and then they want to keep one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. One like scat back fast guy.
Yeah.
Which is more Hunt's role. So we'll see.
Yep. Anything else with recruiting wise before we move on from that though? I know we got a lot of 5-stars on the board.
Yeah, a lot of guys that if you read the boards and if you troll through that some people who may or may not be insiders, they say they are, but you never know, or say we're trending for a lot of guys. It's a dead period right now during fall camp, so we can't have contact with potential players. So I don't think too much is going to develop between now and the start of the season when official visits start. Yeah. But I think that if recruiting is a thing that you keep up with, when you read the official visit recruit list for the Notre Dame game, it's going to be like, how are these coaches even going to coach in the game? Because they're going to be hosting like 18 5-stars.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I
don't either.
Like, I've wondered that. Like, I wonder almost if maybe Kirby has his assistants so well set up that they handle all the prep with their position groups during the day, and Kirby is like only hosting recruits up until an hour before the game. Or maybe vice versa. Maybe Kirby is with the team and the position coaches are. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because then you have families there. You're getting to talk to the parents, making them feel welcome, making sure their kid is prioritized. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But to Jimmy's point, if you do keep up recruiting, or even if you don't, if you're going to Notre Dame game or any of the more high-profile games, that stuff is just it's fun to be a part of that atmosphere. That, granted, those kids are a lot younger than us, but it just might be the fact, or might be the flipping point of saying, that's why I want to go to UGA. That atmosphere was electric. It's kind of fun to be a part of that, kind of give back, if you will. Just kind of go to the game, be a part of that electric atmosphere that kids refer to. It's fun to go to a place that's your college experience, to have that kind of, have that kind of Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
and even if, I think there's probably going to be kids that aren't necessarily super interested in Georgia, but nobody's going to pass up the chance to be on the sideline for that game.
Yeah.
And then that may pay dividends down the road.
Sure.
Some kid will
Good
be
point.
like, I was
Good
all
point.
Bama, I was all LSU, I was all Auburn.
Yeah.
But then that one night in Athens was...
We've all had one of those nights in Athens.
I have had a lot of those one nights in Athens. So that's some stuff to keep an eye on, but I think there's a real good chance. We definitely have a 5-star running back in the fold, definitely taking another good chance that we end up with another really highly rated guy. We're in it for a lot of 5 stars, so that'll be stuff that we'll address over the course of the season as those dominoes start to fall.
Yeah, he's just I think Zach Evans, to round that out, is the closest one that we're hearing is flirting with us and really being not pushed to make a decision, but just to say it maybe sooner than later.
Zach Evans tweeted a couple things.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, when he signed, the other guy, when he signed, I know Zach Evans tweeted I think the eyes looking sideways.
Yeah. These kids love
Yeah.
I never thought I would be so invested in the emojis being tweeted by 17-year-old boys as it is when he follow recruiting.
Still talking about Georgia, right?
He's paying attention.
Yeah, but it's you'll just have one of our recruits like Tate Ratledge, I think, tweeted like the bomb emoji with eyes or something, and there's whole threads on the Georgia boards.
Yeah,
right.
What does this mean?
Right.
But we are that monster as fans. We want more of that. We love to just speculate. When it gets slow, it's way in the weeds. It's way overblown with all the keeping up with kids that are that young and recruiting. But it is, and it's a lot. I mean, you have to really want to keep up with it. I understand that, But,
even today, I think Georgia as a fan base, is just a very passionate fan base and so hungry for a championship that I think maybe a little over the top compared to, or maybe every fan base is like this, and I just have my head stuck in the Georgia sand. But even today when they reported that that Swift was not at practice, I think that the mod of that page said he got so many DMs and so many people freaking out that he had to update it 12 minutes later and be like, he's fine. It's fine.
Wow.
I've been told that he wasn't hurt. But people were losing their minds about it.
Yeah,
which is pretty funny.
It's a little crazed, but that's what makes the money. That's what makes it exciting.
And if there's a player, 3 players that you'd be freaking out if they miss time. Swift is going to be one of them, just because we don't have a ton of proven depth behind him.
Right.
I think Zamir White will hopefully come along as the season goes on.
Yeah,
but I think with the exception of Fromm, probably he would be, because I think Andrew Thomas is the best player on the team, but we're more well equipped to absorb an injury on the offensive line than anywhere else.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I guess we can use that as a transition to go into looking at position battles going into the season.
If you want to, yeah.
So figured we would probably gloss over. There's a few that are pretty much set in stone. You can say the depth chart's written in pen. Left tackle with Andrew Thomas. He's going to be an All-American.
Start with the offense,
Yeah, so let's start with the offense. I guess we'll start with the offensive line and work our way there. So left tackle is set. He's going to be an All-American, be a top 10 pick.
Everyone knows him.
Go be rich.
Yeah.
Pace Academy.
Pace Academy.
Alumnus.
Local product.
Yeah. So
number 71. You know him. He'll be gone, so enjoy him while he's here. I don't know if you can appreciate offensive linemen, the casual fan, but that's an anchor that we've had since his true freshman year. So that'll be expired this year.
I think he'll be the third in a row. I think that Tyler and I've had several conversations where 2 years ago it was Roquan, and then last year it was DeAndre Baker. It was nice to be aware of how good they were during the season. Because I feel like there has, even Jarvis Jones, in 2012 we were aware of him, but in 2011 he quietly was an All-American. And the postseason awards came out, and I was like, Jarvis Jones was an All-American? You look back and he had 15 and a half sacks. And you're like, when did that happen?
So Jarvis had, on the season 2012, he had 14 and a half sacks, 24 and a half tackles for loss, 85 tackles total.
And he also beat Florida by himself.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Beat Florida by himself. Roquan had, I think it was 137 tackles on the year.
Yeah.
And Jarvis had 85. And then Roquan had, I think, 12 and a half tackles for loss, 6 sacks.
Lesser sacks, I know.
Yeah. I mean, different positions.
But 2 more games.
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
still, just to kind of, comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, Jarvis, when you look at his like havoc play stats, which we've talked about last week, those plays that result in negative yardage was, I mean, I guess I didn't watch Georgia way back when David Pollock played, so I don't remember that, but
we had
probably the best since Pollock statistically.
24 sacks last year, and Jarvis in 2012 had 14
Yeah,
and a half.
I believe that.
Yeah,
we've been
crazy.
trending that way. We're trying to fix that, but that's not surprising.
Jarvis was awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that this year, if you are going to look at one player that you want to try and key in on certain games and say, wow, like this guy's one of the better ones to come along in a long time, and he's going to be playing at a really high level in the NFL next year, that Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, and offensive line's one of those things. It's not a skill position like I'll even say like linebacker, like with Roquan and Jarvis and like A.J. Green, where you can really enjoy the flair. You don't really appreciate offensive linemen until they're gone and you're getting your ass kicked and getting sacked more times than you're used to. So that's not like a sexy pick to like appreciate, but that's an anchor we have. But
keep going along.
So sorry.
Brent's gonna keep us
move
on
it
track.
around. Yeah,
that's always been Brent's role in our friend group.
we went but seriously. We just went from Andrew Thomas to Jarvis Jones. So.
Yeah.
So Andrew Thomas.
So moving on. Left
guard. Solomon
Kinley,
Kinley, 66. You've seen him. He's kind of the underappreciated guy. I think he's pretty much pinned in there as well. Not highly recruited, but he just come in and been a great plug there at left guard.
I think, he really is a testament to how good. So Pittman obviously is an amazing recruiter when you look at just how stacked our offensive line is from a talent perspective, but then it shows how good of a coach he is and how much of an eye for talent that he has. That Kinley was one of those guys that he, when Kirby was announced as the head coach in 2015, he I don't know if Kinley flipped from Florida or was a Florida lean, but he's from Jacksonville, and he kind of came in, identified Kinley real late. He was ranked like the 1,000th something prospect. Brought him in, had him in the program for a year, and now he's playing it at a really high level.
Yeah, he'll play on Sundays too. I think our entire offensive line will eventually.
I agree with that.
Maybe except for the next guy. So moving to center.
We got Trey Hill. So that would be, to me, is the biggest question mark. Like if there's an area you want to be concerned just for the sake of argument on the offensive line, it would be him, because when he did play last year in limited snaps, he out of shotgun. Not all of his snaps were perfect. He had some high snaps.
High and low. He was just inconsistent with his snaps. Little background on him, Trey Hill, 55. He's going into his sophomore year.
Yes.
Played guard at Houston County with Fromm. So there's familiarity there for sure. Cool. Yeah. But just because he played and filled in for Lamont Gilliard there last year, he's kind of just
he's more of a true guard, but he signed as a guard, but I don't know if that's a case of them trying to get the best 5 on the field, and so that's what they feel like they need to do, or what?
Yeah, I think we'll come back to center just for a quick minute, because so for now, Trey Hill in center. Right guard is the carousel, and the most intriguing position battle, I would say, on offense.
Yeah, that's the most wide open position, but it also might be.
It's rich man problems.
We could go 3 deep and still be plugging in 5 stars at that position.
It is,
that's crazy.
So the 3 guys at right guard, which is insane, are Ben Cleveland.
And then
74, you know him. Cade Mays, 77, kid from Knoxville that scorned Tennessee, spurred Tennessee.
He played,
last year.
3 different positions last year, different points in the season.
Awesome. He seems like he's our Kendall Baker, I guess, this year. Kind of a guy who can just fill every. He can literally play center and every other position.
He's
just
probably like
athletic.
basically the 6th lineman on the team.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if somebody got hurt, he'd be the first guy.
He's the first guy off the bench. So Cade Mays, his true sophomore year, and then third and finally, which I guess it feels like a third, but Jamari Sawyer, also a Pace product, graduated 1 year behind Andrew Thomas. But it's crazy to me to even think that Jamari Sawyer is considered like
I think he might have been the highest ranked offensive lineman on the entire team.
He was number 1 offensive guard coming out of high school. I remember a few podcasts that Jimmy and I listened to, and guys that we know even told us that are a little more plugged into the recruiting stuff and evaluations said that he's like a day 1 starter, and he's. It's just, I guess we're so log-jammed at guard, which is like I said, it's a rich man's problem. We just have such talent across the board that we don't know how to get all these guys in the field, which is why, going back to center a little bit, I think Jamari Sawyer, we told him you could end up being center. And then Cade Mays also.
Tyler and
I did, yeah.
I
gave him a call. Sent him a few emojis. And then also Cade Mays, we have him at center right now too in some of the practices and the practice reports, because they say they want him to understand the right guard position a little more from that standpoint. But Sam Pittman has told us he's going to put the best 5 out there. So I could see, back to Trey Hill kind of having some issues, if Cade Mays, who is proven and is just a nasty guy, and Jamari Sawyer, who's also extremely talented, I could see either one of them almost
overtaking center spot.
center if those were to persist.
So
just because of how talented they are.
Saying you think Cleveland will be the starter against Vanderbilt at right guard?
I think Cleveland will, just because we want to stick with. He's the best, I guess, run blocker is what he's kind of known for. And he's the biggest grader. He's not the most athletic of those guys. He's the most seasoned. He's been there the longest. I guess because that's what we want to do. We want to run first and foremost.
Yeah.
I assume James Coley, the new offensive coordinator since
Chaney
left, thank you, to Tennessee. He's a little more pass heavy because of his time at Miami is what he did. A little more balanced, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think because of our identity being Cleveland will be it, and then I could see center falling just to have the best 5 guys on the field.
Yeah, I can see that. I think we've been cross training, like you said, Sawyer, and then I think Mays has gotten some snaps there too. So.
Yeah. So anyway, right guard is thick. It's awesome. It's a fun one to watch. Just of how many there are literally just 5 stars lined up back to back to back in that one position.
It's really like you could. It's almost equal chances that Cleveland loses his job this year or keeps it and then goes pro a year early. So it's like there's that much talent at that position that he could be fighting tooth and nail for that starting job all year and then go be a second round pick.
So you think of our offensive starting lineman, the guy that's least likely to be a starter in the NFL is the center, right?
I think so. Yes,
I would say that,
which is wild because also the center.
But he's also about to be a true sophomore.
Yeah,
so
he's young. Because but he'll also I think
both guards, both tackles will play in the NFL.
Yeah, he could move to guard once some of these other guys move on. Like once Solomon Kinley moves, Trey Hill could assume the position at left guard.
Right.
And then maybe Cade Mays or Jamari Sawyer at center, and then Mays at right guard once.
Yeah.
It's just we have ways to fill. I guess think of where they're playing now. Hill has the greatest chance to.
It was funny. My dad texted me the other day because Tennessee lost their most productive returning defensive lineman for the season. He tore his ACL or had a Lisfranc or something. Mm-hmm. So they have almost no returning front 7 productivity.
Great.
And so he was jokingly, he was like, can you tell Kirby to leave the starters at home and just bring the second string offensive line?
Still is.
And I was like, that would still be a 5-star left tackle, left guard, and center. Because it'd be Cade Mays at left tackle. You could put Jamari Sawyer at left guard, and then the center, that kid out of Alabama that we signed this past year that's going to be a true freshman.
Clay Webb.
Webb.
5-star.
Yeah, so he's probably in line to redshirt, which, I mean, it used to be. Tyler and I say this all the time, but under Mark Richt, it was like, and Brent is the resident Mark Richt apologist. He always gives us a hard time. So we appreciate what Mark Richt did. 2012 was a fun year, but when he signed a 5-star, especially at offensive line, they were expected to come in and be like the savior of the program. And the way we're stacking talent now,
you're not wrong, but
Rick, but I don't like it.
But you guys throw Rick under the bus all the time.
No, I don't think we're throwing him under the bus.
We were a good team.
But now we're a great team.
I know. It's like having a good employee, but now you have a better employee. Same thing. You appreciate what they did. However, they got you.
Yeah.
But,
that 2018 would have won too.
I agree with that. If college football playoff existed, then
for sure,
that would have happened. It's also an interesting what if, which now we're getting way off topic, but that last play of the SEC championship in 2012,
we won on that one too.
Yeah, because I think we would have beat Notre Dame
for sure.
The way that Bama did. So, I mean, does that championship?
That might be overstaying his welcome here on set, but we'll let it roll.
But would that championship buy Rick an extra 3 years? I mean, we've seen programs move on from a coach within 5 years of winning a championship because Auburn's done it. So
but Georgia doesn't flop as hard as Auburn does. They don't have as up and down as
true.
Rick had one bad year in 2010, and my God, they're littered with injuries. And that was I don't know.
That 2013 signing class was pretty bad though.
We don't have to go down this rabbit hole.
Okay. So moving on to, in my opinion, by far the most wide open position on the team is wide receiver.
No, well, you got to finish right tackle.
You got to finish
right tackle.
Well, that's Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah, Isaiah Wilson. So that's the offensive line. Real quick, we're gonna run through it again.
Number
79. Isaiah Wilson. He's a junior, so we think he will also leave.
He'll be a redshirt sophomore, so he'll be eligible to leave.
So I think he will also exhaust his eligibility. So we're going to...
He's also the one, if anybody, back to recruiting, if anybody remembers, his when he announced, he went to this magnet school in New York that's like a performing arts school and just happened to be a 5-star football player. And they had their Christmas program where it was weird. And he came out dressed like Santa, and he pulled like a Georgia thing out of his Santa bag, and that was how he announced he was going to Georgia.
That's what all kids want for Christmas.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, so that's the offensive line, though. So you got from left to right real quick. Those 5, I know we're running through it, but it was left tackle, Andrew Thomas, left guard,
Solomon
Kinley, center, Trey Hill, right guard, we're just going to
say
Ben Cleveland, and then right tackle being Isaiah Wilson. So that's your offensive line. Studs, awesome guys. That's the
I guess we're
huge
saying
reason
that
of why our offense is going to
So the most wide open position is right guard, but it's almost like the guy least likely to be starting at the end of the season is center, because you could see one of those guards sliding over and taking the center spot.
How much is locked down there. So that's that. We all know Jake Fromm in his junior year as a quarterback. So that's obvious. Obviously, DeAndre Swift starting running back. That basically, and then I guess for a tight end, Charlie Warner is the only guy returning.
Warner is the clear starter. To me, the thing that makes me nervous, I don't think there's a big drop-off between Nada last year and Warner.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we're going to have a second-string guy to provide the talent that Warner did last year.
Yeah, the second-string guy would be John Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, it's going to be Fitzpatrick at this point. So we brought in Eli Wolf from Tennessee as a grad transfer, but he never did a ton in 3 or 4 years there, however long he was there. So I don't think we can count on him for too much.
That's more for depth, but I just don't think I don't know. James Coley at Miami and Florida State, when he was calling plays there, an offensive coordinator at each, I think he was more pass happy, more balanced, I guess, than Chaney was, and I think he was more tight end friendly. I just don't think we're not. We have to shorten the bench, right? We can only get the ball to so many players, and I just don't see us being friendly to tight ends. I think everyone talks about Warner being a great athlete, what he did in high school here at Georgia and everything. I don't see Warner having a super impactful year. Maybe he shows up in a couple of games, 1 or 2, and makes a crucial play for us, but I just don't see us being overly more tight end heavy or anything to that effect.
Yeah, the only 2 arguments I would have against that are, one is that we're so unproven at wide receiver right now. So somebody's eventually going to stop our run game, and we're going to have to throw to win. And tight end is the most proven position we have as far as a pass catcher.
That's a good
then
point.
The other one is I don't think this coaching staff would build a game plan this year around recruits. I just don't think that's the way that Kirby's built his process.
Same.
But we definitely have to take 2 tight ends next year. I think that we've got all 3 of the 1, 2, and 3 tight end recruits in the country are all very seriously considering Georgia. So I don't think that would be a thing, but I guess you could throw that in there as maybe they would be a little more friendly to tight ends trying to recruit these high school guys.
Yeah, I've heard that too. How we need to make sure that the tight end recruits are impressed with how we use the tight ends in our game plan. And I can't see coaches and guys that their job's on the line and trying to win games getting their head about, okay, I need this recruit to see what I'm doing with my tight end now.
And 2 of them, one of our biggest competition for both of them is Alabama, who runs a similar style of offense to us.
They've also done it very well with their tight end. I mean, look at Irv Smith. Look at O.J. Howard.
But those guys don't put up crazy numbers. They just have really good measurables in the combine.
Well, they show up in games. Obviously O.J. Simpson, O.J. Howard, O.J. Howard,
and the national championship.
Yeah, showed up twice back-to-back years. It's big time. So I think we could have that kind of production, and where someone hasn't quite paid attention to the undervalued Charlie Warner, I guess you can say. But I just don't see him getting 700 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns. I don't see that being the case, which would be a great year for any tight end.
Yeah, but I think if we're just looking at saying we're not going to change too much, business as usual with the tight ends, Warner's looking at 400 yards, 5 touchdowns ish.
Yeah. But very pedestrian.
The biggest question mark for me is can Fitzpatrick step in for a series at a time, for a play at a time, and play at the same level that Warner was able to play last year. So
just give us another option. Give us something. Give them someone else. Not. You don't want such a drop off to happen where Fitzpatrick comes in behind Charlie Warner and they can just almost ignore the kid. It's almost a personnel issue where they're either running the ball or he's a non-factor because he's not effective. But that wraps up all the known things. And then the biggest
so wide receiver
question mark
is the biggest.
All 3 positions.
My question is in terms of James Cook, you don't really think about him too much, but him sliding kind of into like a Mecole or like an Isaiah McKenzie kind of role. And, maybe he needs to get the weight up a little bit, but because he was pretty small.
Yeah, I think he's put on some weight from what I've read because they were worried about him trying to run between the tackles in the SEC because he was pretty slight. So are you saying you think we'll use him
more like in a slot receiver kind of role? Because,
I could see it. I think
the halfback role is kind of full. If you I mean, if Zamir comes back and Harrion and,
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it became more likely when J.J. Hallman got kicked off the team because now I
Right.
think there's probably more touches to go around at wide receiver. It may be that Demetrius Robertson was, slotted to play that slot position, and he may have to slide out wide to kind of take over J.J. Hallman. So Cook could slide in there.
I think even in an effort to shorten the bench, Brent, you bring up a good point. And with James Coley being a little more, I won't say spread, but just, again, back to his little more pass happy than.
You mean Cook?
No, James Coley, the offensive coordinator.
Coley,
sorry.
okay.
New offensive coordinator, James Coley,
Right.
being a little more pass happy than Chaney. I could see us almost, if we don't get production from tight end, maybe have Cook out there in like a slot position, and all of a sudden being an emotion guy, kind of like a speed sweep, kind of something into the flat. Because you want your best, athletes on the field. And if you got to shorten the bench by taking off the tight end and throwing out Cook there to be that quick, mismatch for a smaller cornerback, and he's kind of bulked up, that's certainly a creative wrinkle that we could put into
a nice thing about having Cook out there, even for the sake of the run game, is you almost could argue that we could have a more productive run game by spreading everybody out as much as possible and trying to lighten up the middle of the field because our offensive line is going to be so good.
True.
So when your argument is, have a big tight end right off the line and like an H-back as almost like a fullback type role, or just split Cook out wide enough that somebody's got to go follow him. I mean, you could argue that just having a guy full on removed from the picture and having a hat on a hat with our offensive line is better than them having one more guy in the box and it's Warner versus an inside linebacker or something like that.
That's good stuff, guys. We should get this to Coley.
Yeah.
I'm making my pants fit funny just thinking about it.
I'm going to tweet at Coley and let him know. But yeah, so I think I don't think it would be a crazy bet to make that that you could say like Cook has more receiving yards than rushing yards this year.
For sure.
I don't know. I'd make that bet straight up, but if you gave me like 2-1 odds or something, I might.
$5.
Do you know who our leading receiver is? Do you know how our leading receiver is right now? Our leading receiving yard player is right now? Will or Brent? Any guesses?
Our current?
Yep. Current
Our
leading receiving yardage.
most yards last
Whoa.
year that's returning.
I read this. Dang it.
Anybody. It's not Jake Fromm.
No. I read
Isn't that DeAndre Swift?
Yep, DeAndre Swift, our running back is, which is crazy because that makes him number 6 on the team.
Open.
So yeah, it's definitely wide open who can get those grabs and those touches. But I agree with you, Brent. I think we'll definitely see, and we can start there, slot position. I think Cook is very much in the running for that. Not first on the board, but again, I think we can shift all of that around depending on the personnel and who you want. But at slot, I'm going to go with, I think, Demetrius Robertson. Is who I think, just because how electric he was at Cal. Everyone kind of chronicled his story last year, if you remember, transferred from Cal after his sophomore year. He got injured, took a medical red shirt, only played like 4 games for them. Lit it up his freshman year. Something like 70 receptions as a freshman, 700 yards, like 8 touchdowns, like incredible. That's Pac-12 West Coast offense. They're super pass heavy. So I expect Demetrius Robertson to play and kind of step up. He went the whole year without getting a single reception.
Yeah, I think he had to kind of reshape his body and get in the strength and conditioning room. Because I remember seeing pictures last year of him next to Mecole Hardman, because when they came out of school, they were like 1A, 1B out of high school. They were both 5 stars, same class, both from Georgia, both like slot-type guys. So should have had similar career trajectories just based on who they were in high school. And then you see pictures of them on the practice field, and Mecole was
chiseled,
pretty big for being still a small, fast guy. And then Robertson, he looked like a track sprinter.
You went out
or
west
something.
and ate all that vegan
Yeah, he didn't eat meat for 18 months.
I don't know. I mean, I'm glad to have him. And obviously he was electric in the Austin P game. Everyone remembers that first touch, little end around, like 70-yard, just a speedster. And that didn't help him. That it almost, to his own detriment. It was the legend, or whatever you want to call it, of Demetrius Robertson, the expectations rather, just kind of got shot up for him. But we saw that, and then he just never came to fruition. So really hoping he steps up. Obviously another year in the playbook, a little more familiarity, more rapport with Fromm. Exciting athlete still. He still has that. I guess got to figure out a way to, again, shorten that bench, get him involved. I think he's that guy. Behind him, there's kind of a logjam there as well. There's Demetrius Robertson. I don't know if you guys remember Kearis Jackson from Peach County, little local South Georgia guy, which Kirby loves. Yeah. He's kind of that thicker guy, almost, I wouldn't say a lighter James Cook. He's kind of a bigger, thicker slot receiver. Not so much a speedster, speedy, but like he's kind of the guy when you hit him, he's not going to go down. More of a possession. Yeah, throw it over the middle, go take a good hit across the slant. He's just kind of that dependable guy. But we did not get him involved at all last year. But he's exciting. And then I think they're rounded out most people are
Dominic
super
Blaylock.
excited about this, is Dom Blaylock, 5-star receiver. Kind of like Mecole, Terry Godwin, Isaiah McKenzie kind of body type, smaller guy, but everything I've read about him and heard about him when we listen to some stuff is he's been super impressive. Not so much on the field as far as like wowing things yet. I think his head's probably spinning. I have no idea. I can only imagine as a freshman, but they say just his maturity and how he picks up things, at least in the film room and stuff, they said he's super impressive and very, very mature for his age. So I'm hoping that he kind of comes along week 5, 6, 7. And
Yeah.
So
I think he'll be a fun one to watch. He's one that I think the coaches have mentioned, because right now is when Kirby talks about every year the freshmen are starting to hit those walls.
yeah,
To where they're having so much thrown at them and their heads are spinning and they're practicing harder than they've ever practiced before.
Mhm.
So it's
And
it's
it's hot
a
as hell.
certain kind of guy at 18 years old that can show up to practice and be like, it's super hot. I don't want to be here. I don't really know what's going on. This is not what I feel like I signed up for, but I'm just going to focus on getting better today.
yeah.
And that's all that matters, is like one day at a time. As long as I can be better today than I was yesterday, then
You can apply that to life.
yeah.
You can.
That's true.
Listen, kids.
I'm 28 years old. I don't do that.
Give me the
I
Friday.
get to work and I'm like, get me out of here. So
8
we can
hours.
all learn a lesson from Dominic Blaylock.
Well, they do say the first 5 days after the weekend are the hardest.
Exactly. Always.
But 2 more spots. I guess that's a
Yeah,
slot
so
receiver.
let's call it our other 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, then there's, I
spots.
guess they call them X and Y, boundary and field, I think, as
Yeah,
well. So
that's
different
probably a
people,
little
or
more
flanker
nuanced
and
than
stuff.
we.
Sounds
Okay.
about
That's-
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just basically 2 wide receivers.
2 wide
so-
receivers, and so 2 outside guys.
So
Unfortunately,
who would be your?
J.J. Holloman. I'm going to go.
Well, let's do this. To your
Okay.
prediction for the 2 to start the season, and your prediction for the 2 to start the SEC championship.
Okay.
Are we boring
The
you? Will?
SEC
Whoa,
championship.
We're talking
Will
about
has
Georgia
things to
too much?
say.
Maybe we'll do defense in other episodes. But get in some other stuff for Will to jump in here.
Yeah, we might should. I didn't realize we'd go down the.
My bad. Okay, so 2 to start and 2 to start the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2 to start the season. I'm going to have to go with Tyler Simmons, obviously. I think he's the fastest guy out there. So he's
Yeah.
just got to get it together. And I hate to say this because the guy has bugged the hell out of me. Even in recent practice reports, he cannot catch a cold. But Matt Landers.
You think Matt Landers?
Yeah, I mean, he's electric, and we can get the ball to him, and he gets separation. He just has to catch the ball, which Mecole Hardman had the same issue. He was an electric player. He could get separation, but he had some drops. Granted, he changed positions from defense to he's an athlete, but he changed from defense to offense in our scheme, had some drop issues, finally got on. It was a weapon. Landers just needs to kind of come along. So I think initially, this is what he offers. He can take the top off of defense. I think. Am I talking too fast?
No,
Landers.
I'm laughing at Will.
Landers. I think it's Landers and Simmons, and then I think at the end of the year, my hope, obviously, is I like to have the young studs start immediately. I'm going to say George Pickens, and then I guess I'll stick with Tyler Simmons just because of how fast he can be, and he's the most senior-laden guy. Those are my 2.
Yeah, so I think your final 2 are right. I think ideally, it's kind of like we talked about, for us to play at our potential and get where we want to get, probably Zamir White needs to sort of pass out Brian Harrion on the depth chart over the course of the year. I think Pickens would probably need to pass Landers. I think Lawrence Cager is a guy maybe overlooking. He's a grad transfer from Miami. He's had some, decent years, like years similar to what J.J. Hallman had last year. So like a solid wide receiver 3 type, 400 yards, 6 touchdowns, kind of a possession guy, kind of a guy that if the other team, has a really good cornerback that can sort of limit your first option, who's the guy that's going to step up and kind of get it done. So, he played for Coley, I believe, at one point in Miami.
Yeah, I think so.
So hopefully he's a guy. I could see him being a guy if Landers doesn't really get it together, because Kirby's real big on it. You'll play if you practice well. So if he's dropping balls in practice, I don't see Kirby throwing him out there and being like, well, he'll step up in the game.
Yeah.
That's very outside of Kirby's character. So I could see Cager starting, but I think Pickens is the guy that has a skill set. He's really the only guy on the team with some of the highlights you see of his high school. And so he's got to learn to catch the ball with 2 hands.
Yeah.
He can be kind of a show-off up there. He's always going for the A.J. Green, Terry Godwin, one-handed spin and catch,
Yeah, they said
which is
in
great when it
practice he's going
happens,
for
but
that.
you can't live and die by it.
Right.
So, but I think I agree with that. And then I think Tyler Simmons, I'd like to see him hold on to it for the year, because he's just so fast.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him get like the speed sweeps and stuff. He's electric when he gets the ball in his hands. He's got a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's just, sadly, he's a leading receiver behind Swift, and he doesn't have a season with more than 9 catches in one season. He's a wide receiver.
But
that's alarming.
Onside in the 2017
He was
national
onside,
championship.
and he was the hero of that game until the refs, who got paid off, by the way.
They did. Confirmed.
I think when that play happened before they threw the flag, Tyler and I were looking at each other like, "Oh my God, this is happening."
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was euphoric. I will say I do like Cager though because of how big he is. Everything I've read, he's not like a breakaway, take the top off a defense kind of guy. No elite speed, but he's just such a big wingspan and such, just I guess they say his catch radius is huge, which is great for Fromm. For the kind of quarterback Fromm is, of the back shoulder phase and throw it up and go get it kind of guy in the red zone. I think that's a huge target to have, which is kind of what Javon Wims turned into.
I think we've kind of been searching for that guy. I think J.J. Hallman was developing into it late last year, but we haven't had that true just throw it up safety blanket for Fromm since 2017. Which is, hopefully he can develop into that a little bit.
Which is really what I'll ask to wrap up the wide receiver thing is I want a go-to guy. I want a game changer guy that scares the defense, makes you respect, that opens up the box.
AJ Green.
And then develop the dependable guys. You can't have too many go-tos. I understand that's a dream world. So I just want a couple of guys we can definitely pick up, 5, 6 underneath stuff that I know they're going to catch the thing, which isn't like a Matt Landers. But I want one guy, whether it's Pickens or Simmons if it comes on, with just that speed and that just going to catch anything thrown his way that's over the top of us and really put stress on that secondary. We have not had that in Kirby's tenure yet. So
I saw a good question the other day, similar to that was like, what player from past UGA teams would you add to this team to round it out the best? So I feel like AJ Green would be the easy answer to that.
Javon Wims was kind of that.
Yeah, but he was nowhere near AJ Green.
Well, I know.
But to have something just to be like, we have to devote a safety over here. We have to keep someone over here to shade the side of the field. That's just that opens up so much of the field, and we have stuff to complement something. If we can just have someone step up into that, AJ Green's probably irreplaceable.
You could argue Jarvis Jones in that just because
Goldberg.
Bill Goldberg.
We don't have a ton of. It's goofy to say, and I guess we're getting to the point where we might have to do defense next week. But our outside linebacker room is so talented. Like on paper, it may be the most talented one in the country in terms of where guys were ranked coming out of high school. But there's not a ton of returning production. It's younger guys or transfer guys or JUCO guys.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a guy like Jarvis Jones, to have him in 2012 form on this team to be like plug and play, you just do your thing. You almost be like, we'll play 10-man football, and you just go get the quarterback, and that's it. But I would go A.J. Green with that.
All right.
Anybody have a different answer?
I mean,
that's the correct
That's our biggest
answer.
need. That's our biggest question marks. I feel like that's the most immediate.
Right.
But that rounds out the offense.
Yeah, we might.
You guys want to try and tackle defense tonight, or are you gonna?
No, let's hold off on defense.
I agree.
All right.
So the only other thing we'd talk about Brent and Cox transfer. Is there much to say about that?
Kirby didn't have much to say.
No, we didn't. I loved how we handled that.
Kirby was very coach speak, very political.
I love that.
Yeah.
Kirby's good at that stuff. He's not going to throw anybody under the bus when something like that happens. And then in a different way, when Demetrius Robertson picked Cal 2 years ago, he was very neutral. He's like, well, he's a good kid. I think he would have done well here, but we wish him the best. And 2 years later, which I don't think Brent Cox is going to transfer back here, but
very diplomatic.
He doesn't burn bridges. Maybe he knows, that family could. There's more players coming from that high school, so he doesn't want to have bad blood in Stockbridge or whatever. But I think he's very political about that. I don't think he deserves a immediate waiver. I think it would be insane if he gets one. And they'd be silly not to.
Right.
I think it'd be crazy if they give it to him, but based on what you hear in practice, that he was losing reps to younger guys and he wasn't really buying into Kirby's system, and I wouldn't hate seeing him go up against Isaiah Wilson and Andrew Thomas.
I'd love to see it immediately, but I agree. I don't want to give.
Any time that the other team doesn't have a good player, it's a good thing for you. So.
Right. Yeah. I guess I hate it because that sounds like from all things. And I'll shut up about this because we've been talking the whole time, I feel like. But
giving the people what they came
the
for.
Brent and Cox thing, I guess it isn't. I've had people ask me that, like, what do you think? What do you think it is? And obviously, we have no insider information. But to me, obviously, no legal trouble ever came out recently. Like when Hibb and Robert Bill got arrested for weed last season, they kind of handled that internally with the disciplinary stuff. Kirby likes to handle that, which I appreciate how he handles that, keeping that in house. But nothing ever came out new, so it sounds like it was more of a focus, maturity problem with Cox, which I hate because obviously anytime you lose a 5-star athlete like that, you hate to see that go just because of the quality of reps that you lose. I think that's the problem. We've never had great havoc, which I know that's kind of a buzzword in this offseason. We want to create havoc plays. We haven't really been known for getting after the quarterback recently, despite our really good defenses in the past. Like in 2017, even last year, I think we were in like top 15 defense overall. But just we don't create many negative or havoc plays. Getting after the quarterback and sacking them and getting those turnovers, forcing a lot of turnovers. So you hate to lose a guy who was projected to be possibly a starter, 5-star coming into the system, and even though we had him there last year, he still didn't contribute to really pick it up for us to provide that kind of havoc play. I guess to me, it's the level of quality you lose. Maybe he wasn't the starter. Maybe he ends up being second string or third string. But it's with the defense, with like the defensive line and linebackers, you rotate those guys so often and so frequently, and they're such situational players on third and short, third and medium, third and long. So there's just so many variables that go into who plays what down on defense and their offense's personnel. You just hate to lose a guy who you know is going to match up well against someone. On the other side of that coin, I guess I'm trying to say, is you don't want to have a guy out there who isn't all 100% there. If he's not focused, if he's not trying his hardest because the other younger guys, like Jimmy referenced, are passing him up for playing time or practice time, you don't want a guy out there who might have a talent but isn't there mentally and just going to, who am I supposed to get? Or he's going to not keep containing the edge, and then that's when they bust it open for a big play. I'd rather avoid that situation and have someone with lesser talent, but it's just not going to be flashy, but holds the edge, and you never hear about his name. He doesn't make the tackle, but he prevents the play from happening. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just I'd rather have that. So I think that's what's hard. It's hard. It does sting. It hurts to lose that depth, and it hurts to lose that potential talent because a kid can mature. I mean, he can mature and be a great player at Florida. You know, I don't want to write up the kid off, but it's just, I don't know. It is unfortunate when you recruit these guys, you get these big recruiting wins, these big battles, you're pumping your chest over it, and then not even 24 months in, the kid's, off campus because of what seems like an attitude issue, So, unfortunate. And then he goes to Florida,
Yeah, that's goofy. He went to Florida. I don't really know what his logic was for going to Florida, but, I agree with you. I think that, as a casual fan, you can sometimes be like, well, he wasn't going to start, so who cares? But the depth matters so much in the SEC, so you'd rather have him than not have him.
I can tell you his logic.
What was his logic for going to Florida?
It's our rival.
Well, I guess, if he was pissed off and just trying to go somewhere, I guess. And I think Grantham he wants to be like a rush the passer type guy, and our defense is more of a keep contain, hold off blocks type guy. So maybe he wants to go play for Grantham and get a bunch of sacks on first and second down, and then give up first downs on third down. It's kind of what
still relatively close to home too.
Third in Grantham.
Yeah, it is close to home.
Yeah, because he is from south of Atlanta. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see if he gets that eligibility. Like I said, he went to Georgia, so no reason to root against him. Or wish him the best, except when he plays Georgia every year. I guess
we'll have to have Will's old lady on the podcast and tell us. She's a Florida alum. She'll tell us what she thinks about Brent and Cox.
Yeah, we'll go take a deep dive into Florida athletics with Natalie.
Yeah, I'm sure she has some strong opinions.
So is David's old lady. He's also a Florida alum.
No, actually, I remember that, yeah.
Dating the enemy.
That's where it should stay.
All right. So I guess moving on to the broader landscape of college football, but sticking with transfers. Tathan Martell.
Hey, Will, are you Jimmy's just assuming host over here.
Yeah, no.
Man.
All right.
We got a lot we want to talk about.
That being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to the broader landscape of college football, but also keeping in mind the transfers and recruiting. Jimmy, take it away.
Jimmy's trying to get that pay raise. Mr. Do It All.
Sorry, Will didn't read
He's been trying to start talking for like 15 minutes.
Sorry, I'm just fired up.
Carry on.
Jimmy's on a roll. I love it.
Tyler just talked for like 10 minutes.
And a word from our sponsors.
All right.
We've gotten rid of all those.
We are looking for a sponsor for the call-in line, though. The call-in text line that we have.
Yeah.
So for any sponsors listening out there, if you want to get your brand out there, we would love for you to do so.
But really, Tate Martell in Miami, that story's hilarious for anybody that's kept up with it.
Why don't you tell it?
Okay.
I'll take it away.
I'll
take it because Jimmy's been talking the whole time.
Okay.
So for those of y'all that do keep up with all this stuff, which is hilarious, I think it was the number one thing that was trending on Twitter yesterday in the U.S., which is pretty wild. But Tate Martell, Ohio State quarterback, transferred from Ohio State when Justin Fields got there, ex-Georgia quarterback. So Tate Martell transfers out after tweeting all this time about how Justin Fields was going to come into Ohio State, and then Tate Martell said, you best not transfer. What was the quote exactly?
Said if you're gonna make a decision, he was quoting that line from The Wire where he says, "If you come at the king, you best not miss."
He was saying, like, if you're going to take a second try, you best not miss on your second try. Tate Martell was saying that to Justin Fields coming in. Basically, Tate Martell assuming the position of starting quarterback at Ohio State because he had been there for 2 years already. The day after Justin Fields shows up on Ohio State's campus, Tate Martell transfers to Miami. Tucks tail, doesn't even stick with his words. Doesn't even compete one day against the kid. Gets to Miami after running his mouth all offseason, making it very public, which I think was his detriment. If he was kept his mouth shut and just left, saying, the kid walks in, look at Justin Fields, and I think Tate Martell would know he's not going to beat that kid out in a quarterback competition. Transfers to Miami, probably, very obviously very confident kid. Does not win the starting quarterback battle or quarterback competition this offseason in Miami. Some Kentucky transfer kid did. I don't know his name. And Tate Martell did not show up to practice the next day. So in short, Tate Martell.
I didn't know he didn't show.
Yep, Tate Martell runs his mouth at Justin Fields about transferring in to be his soon-to-be teammate. Justin Fields shows up. Tate Martell leaves the very next day. Tate Martell shows up to Miami, very confident he's going to win the job. And then the day they
inside
announce...
of all this gets kind of a BS immediate eligibility waiver.
For what?
Too.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
His reason that he said was that because Urban Meyer retired...
He felt uncomfortable on campus with all the
players that were better than him.
Yeah. It's just it's a sad story of the transfer portal. I mean, and not only that, it's just the kid was also just running his mouth, like I said, make it public, which made it so much worse for him. I mean, he just telling some kid not to transfer in because he's going to beat him out guaranteed. Like, don't miss on your second try to college. And then this kid has his own second try to college at Miami, and then just flops, and then just doesn't even show up to practice the next day.
Good.
I mean,
and there
where do you go from there?
That he tore up his locker, and his name tag of his locker was
on the floor.
That's embarrassing.
So it'll be funny to see what works. And it's like I feel bad. His kid's like 19, so I guess I shouldn't. But he's such a
You're
punk.
putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
you're the one making these statements. You're literally the only one bringing this on you.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the titans of media like us ragging on you.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, he tweeted that stuff, so that's his deal.
Yeah,
and he was on the documentary that have y'all watched it ever? It's called QB1, where they follow some highly rated high school quarterbacks their senior year. And I think he got a bad edit because he was against Jake Fromm or opposite Jake Fromm, who they painted as like
you gotta have
this Georgia boy that's like the All-American.
They weren't wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I don't know Jake Fromm, but I think they had fun picking and choosing certain things where Jake Fromm's like fishing and he's like, golly gee, and then Tate's over there like just being a douche in Las Vegas.
Give me an example. Come on.
Just like blowing down and stuff.
Just being terrible. And he's like always like mouthing off to his parents, and Jake Fromm's always like, yes sir, no sir. I don't know. Go back and watch it.
So sad story for Tate Martell, unfortunately. Don't know where he'll end up. Probably at a FAU near you. Looking at you, Joey Freshwater, a.k.a. Lane Kiffin.
Tate Martell and Lane Kiffin on the same team would be awesome.
It would be pretty good.
I would pay
good TV.
money to watch like a Hard Knock style documentary about that. Those two just taking on the town together.
Oh, my God.
He's like, all right, guys, we're cutting practice short today because Tate and I are hitting the bars.
Oh, my God. That's brutal.
He's kind of been the scapegoat or the butt of jokes in college football landscape so far. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tate.
It's been fun to make fun of this 20-year-old.
That's right.
But no regrets.
I support that.
He has a really terrible like arm sleeve tattoo.
Oh, strike two.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I know we've covered a lot. We're going to get to defense on our next broadcast and episode because it's obviously a hot topic that we want to be able to cover. But do we want to touch on any other sports before we end things? I know we have Brent Johnson on. We want to pick his brain about some Atlanta sports, particularly the Atlanta Braves.
Los Bravos.
Brent's our Braves, or Brent is our Braves.
Our resident Braves expert.
Yeah, got a big series against the Mets coming up, and then the Dodgers after that.
Have you had a chance? I know obviously you just moved back. Have you had a chance to go to any games this year?
Yeah, I went to that. My one was in the box.
He just showed up
in the champions.
Could have just said who they played, but
Dennis left. No, but it was.
Brent is our friend that always, after we record a podcast and talk about the Braves,
criticisms.
The next day Brent texts us and he's like, everything you guys said was wrong.
Well, exciting thing to look forward to is the Ronald Acuna 40-40 year.
Yeah.
So he has 33 home runs and 28 stolen bases, and I think 42 games left in the season. And there's only 4 players in baseball history who have ever had 40 and 40 seasons.
Can we guess?
And that's okay.
A-Rod.
Yep.
That's one of them. One of the. I read this the other day.
Derek
Is it
Jeter.
Jeter?
No.
Sammy Sosa?
Nope.
No.
It's one of the big home run guys, though.
Wait, what are we
It's not
guessing?
Barry Bonds.
Yeah, it's
Barry Bonds.
He has
That's
40
us.
stolen bases in a single
Yeah, that's
season.
how
Yeah.
good Barry Bonds
That was
was.
before he started taking
hold on.
steroids.
That's pretty telling.
That's before
Yeah.
Fathead Barry Bonds.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I did read. So Acuna would be the first one that has not yet of that list been linked to any sort
Wait,
of
how many
PED
were there total?
scandal.
There's
4.
4. I'll just go ahead and tell you.
No,
You're
no,
not
no.
going to get them. I know you guys well enough. Alfonso Soriano and Jose Canseco.
I was just about to say
Tip of my
Alfonso.
tongue.
That's
Yeah.
a second guess.
So he would be the 5th player, and at the age of 21, he would be the youngest, I think. I'm pretty sure. So that's awesome. And
That's
then,
incredible, yeah.
So next year's schedule just got released too,
Yeah.
playing Boston, which is exciting, and then the Angels. And so I don't think that, I guess, the sports world really appreciates enough how good Mike Trout truly is.
So we get to see him.
Because
That's here in Atlanta? The
He's
Angels?
literally going to go down as, if not the, but like one of the best players to ever play the game.
Is he better than
At the end of this season,
Bryce Harper?
Yeah.
at the end of the season,
Brent's not even going to dignify
no.
that with a response.
He's going to have a wins above replacement of 71.8, which are through the
That's good.
through the age of 28, which is the best wins above replacement through the age of 28 ever. This guy is a freak.
So do you think he's underappreciated because of the market he's in? Like, I
He's
would
in LA.
imagine Anaheim, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I think the Dodgers are the king out there,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And then I guess we don't see him on TV much. Like, I don't see many Angels nationally televised games,
Right.
I guess.
I think it's, multifactorial. So part of it is he's a pretty straight-laced guy, not very, charismatic, I
Yeah.
would say. Like Bryce Harper probably, I'd be willing to bet, I don't know this, but has probably more followers on Twitter, on Instagram, things like that. And then secondarily, I had a point. Dang it. I know.
I think he's more
Brent.
widely marketed than people like Bryce Harper as well. Like
Yeah.
Bryce gets picked up for a whole lot of off-the-field advertisements, and Trout just doesn't fill those gaps.
Trout
Right.
eats fresh.
Subway.
He's
And
a
then,
Subway guy.
and then we you guys kind of touched on this a little bit. And I know I kind of disagreed on this last year in your little baseball podcast when you talked about
Our
Acuna.
little baseball podcast. Excuse
Wow.
you.
It was
Well,
highly. It was
I
highly.
had 25 listeners, sir. I don't know what
But,
you're
we now
talking
have
about.
100,000.
It was the only one that you guys
subscribers.
really focused on baseball for, and I just think baseball in general lacks that exciting,
Yeah.
kind of pumping their chest a little bit. I'm not going like wild and crazy. I just that exciting player. That's what I think Acuna. I don't know why I keep saying Acuna. Kind of brings to the Braves and just baseball in general.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
he does a little bit of like
Little
pumping
swagger.
his, pointing to the dugout and smiling and
chains.
everything.
Chewing
The-
his bubble gum.
the chains, the bubble
Yeah.
gum. My mom the other day was like, "Why does he have to wear those chains?" And it's that's
flashy.
yeah, it's fun stuff. But anyways, I mean, the Braves obviously need bullpen help.
We just got that, though, right?
Shane Green and that Melancon guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Shane lost the closing role in 10 days. Melancon on Saturday. I think that's how his last name is. It was a 6-2 lead, and he blew it. And now that Jackson guy's back in the closing role.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Fell apart quick.
yeah. But the key thing is that, in the playoffs is when power pitching matters.
Right.
That's why Smoltz was so good in the playoffs back in the 90s, and Maddox and Glavin's postseason numbers were mediocre, or not, they weren't that great. They're not that impressive. And you wouldn't think that, but they're both more finesse pitchers.
Okay.
Which is like what Dallas Keuchel is. It's what Julio Teheran is, or more, slower, kind of those finesse pitchers. But you need those power pitchers like Fulte and Fried, who throw about 97, 96.
I thought it was Fulte that we were having some issues with. I thought we were
Right, but he's back now,
Okay.
so,
they went
yeah.
to AAA, didn't he?
Yeah.
For
Okay.
when we first got those guys.
So he's back now, and
That's interesting.
He's pitching pretty well since he came back. But those power pitcher guys are the ones that really, and they're the young guys. So that's where it's, Soroka's kind of fallen off a little bit. He hasn't won since, I don't think he's won since the All-Star break. He's still 10-3. Max Fried is now 14, I think, and 3.
Okay.
But Yeah. So
You got any playoff predictions as far as like? Well, we'll start with this. Who's our NL wild card? I guess is it the Mets? Did the Mets make a run?
I think they've won like 7 of the last 8
they're
or something.
trending. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they were like 16 games out at one point. So I know they're
We'll see. They'll cool.
okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure who the wild card, may be. The Nationals obviously have been really, really good since the break. I think the Giants heated up a little bit there.
I think we play the Nationals like 9. We got like 9 more games between now and October.
Right.
For them.
So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, the percentages are definitely in our favor. We're too good not to. I don't think win the division unless it's another catastrophic year. I think like that one time we fell apart in September. I want to say it was 2012. But yeah, I think that was it.
What
But,
about our playoff prediction?
It's going to be Dodgers. It's going to be Dodgers and us in the championship series.
In the
We're going to win the division
NL
series. Yeah, I think we're going to win. We should win the division series. Us in the championship series against the Dodgers. The Dodgers will win it, and then it'll be Houston Yankees, and Yankees will win it. It'll be Yankees Dodgers, and then I think the Dodgers will win it finally. But
That plays out exactly. That'd be impressive. To play that back in October.
You heard it here first.
the Dodgers are so good.
Okay.
So
18
good.
and a half games ahead of the Diamondbacks.
They're so good.
It's
Wow.
stupid.
They're
Really?
so good. Yeah, and then the Yankees are so good too.
Is that just Kershaw remaining?
Well, Kershaw, and then the U pitcher has like a 1.45 ERA right now.
Wow.
Which is
Okay.
like the lowest I think in ever.
Yeah.
Since the I was reading
Since the
no,
world.
since the mound is
Forever.
he has the lowest ERA since the mound's been lowered, which I guess is
Oh
significant.
wow. Eric always.
Oh, wow.
Gambler Eric talks about how there was some. Who's he cheer for? Cardinals. Like some Cardinals player that has the greatest pitching stats ever, but he would have maintained that if the mound had never been raised or something. I don't know, something
That's
crazy
dumb.
like that. I
It's
do
also
want to
dumb
say
that he roots for the Cardinals.
back to Kershaw.
Cardinals,
on
Cowboys,
the,
Clemson.
Yeah, Eric just picks all the best teams. It's tough life
So
over there.
dumb.
In the Romney household. But Brent and I, forever ago, one of the last few seasons in Turner Field, we went to watch. It was the division series versus Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers.
And we had Chris
And
Medlin.
Medlin came out and struck out the side. First thing, we were like,
We were going
so
wild.
jacked, and that was the last thing to cheer for that entire game. That was a fun series. Though,
But we tailgated.
we
It was
tailgated,
amazing.
Yeah, Brent's and
In the blue lot. It
Yep.
was-
Yeah, blue lot.
Yeah.
We talked about that
Oh, I'm
last year.
sorry.
Turner Field was,
We're in the green lot.
or was it? Wow, all of those lots.
They were all
Gold
fun.
and blue and
You
green.
couldn't. I mean, I love the Battery. It's a fun place. It is a. I shouldn't say I love it. It's a really fun atmosphere. They've done a great job with it, but nothing beat actually
tailgating at
tailgating
Turner.
at Turner Field.
What
That
lot
was
had
fun.
the grill lot that you had to have a grill to get around the one side? Do you remember
was
that?
a joke.
The lot that was the closest to.
The Delta lot.
No, it was whatever colored lot was closest to the actual
It
stadium.
was the green lot.
The green lot had a section that you could. It was right by the island, the grassy island that we play cornhole, and you could only park along there if you had a grill. And so we would have like 4 cars and bring like one little George Foreman grill and just like pass it back and forth. And then people working there, they didn't care. We were like, we brought this grill that like needs a power source and we don't have one, but can we park in the grill lot?
It was a George Foreman. Just pass it back. A little red George Foreman.
They were like, just go ahead. He was like,
So
"Please."
what Atlanta sport? Well, I guess Hawks. But if you had to go to
if
you had to go to United or like season tickets, I have like magical powers, and I'm giving you season tickets to Braves, United, Falcons,
Or the Thrashers.
or the Hawks.
R.I.P.
I would probably go United.
United?
I think those games are it's most manageable to make it to like all of them. They're always super really high energy.
Yeah,
I would incline to say Braves.
Braves would be fun.
But there's
because
just so many.
Yeah.
That's the only detriment. If I could choose, like, if I could have the last half of the Braves season, and I knew they were going to go to the playoffs.
yeah. The sad thing is,
That's
I'd probably
stipulation.
choose Falcons or United just because now
Of
it's
the
so
stadium,
it's so
or-
difficult to get to SunTrust and back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Atlanta
I would
United is
definitely
just
be
fun.
Braves. I live
You would
you be Braves?
well, you
I live a
you're
mile and a
2
half
miles.
from the
Yeah,
stadium,
yeah.
Closer to there.
and they're good. And
If you lived in
So is
Midtown, would
Atlanta
it still be
United.
Braves?
it wouldn't be the Falcons.
Yeah.
I just
I mean, that's fair. There's only 8.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like going to the games and stuff. I love Atlanta United, obviously, but I would probably still say Braves.
Yeah.
If they were like courtside seats, I'd do Hawks.
Oh yeah.
That'd be
so
pretty
fun.
cool.
Yeah, that's
Hawks,
like an entirely
Hawks would honestly
different-
like it'd be more lucrative to have Hawks tickets for the teams that we host to be able to see like
For
LeBron
sure.
play.
Says a lot about the
Zion
Hawks.
play.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're not going to go down this NBA rabbit hole.
But yeah, no,
It'd be,
really,
it'd be a pretty short hole.
yeah, like let me name all the NBA All Stars I know.
Just being honest.
Kawhi Leonard.
Michael Jordan.
Kobe. Yeah, is Kobe still in the league?
Shaq.
Yeah, no, but that would be fun to see all the other like really high profile players and stuff.
For sure.
But the Hawks would, outside of that, would definitely be my least of those.
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot today, and it's fun to finally get back into Georgia football and like really seriously start looking forward
Yeah, it was.
to the season
Football
and
season.
stuff. I can't wait for everything to get started. And we're really appreciative that Brent was able.
Yeah, thanks.
Brent, you're welcome. That Brent was able to jump on and join us. I'm sure it will not be the last time. But we want to say again, thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, share. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, where this is being filmed and put up. But from all of us here to all of you guys out there, we want to say thanks again and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Brush your teeth.